Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today I want to talk about the final that happened in Madrid where Rublev got his second Masters title against Felix Auger-Aliassime in what was a 4-6, 7-5, 7-5 victory. Auger-Aliassime obviously had a very kind of weird route to the final, although he did have a very top win over Casper Ruud on the way there. Rublev with some great wins over Alcaraz, over Taylor Fritz, but also you could say things about Alcaraz that he wasn't fully healthy, this and this. But that being said, I thought we got a pretty good final, a pretty compelling final. Definitely wasn't the A game from Rublev that we had seen against Fritz or Alcaraz, in the first set, not hitting that many winners. He was not the kind of powerhouse on return of serve that he was against Alcaraz and against Fritz, although large part to do with Felix, who kind of took the racket out of Rublev's hand and was hitting a lot of aces. So there are a few different things going on, but I want to go over the match and what ended up transpiring. So the head-to-head is now 5-1 for Rublev over FA after this match. The last time that they played, Rublev won 3-6, 7-6, 7-5. Very similar scoreline, 7-5 in the third. That was against Felix in Rotterdam. And I made a podcast where the main thing I was talking about was that match, because I felt like it was a really big match. I felt like it was a round of 16 of an ATP 500 and the upset did not occur. But what I felt like happened was Felix played, I think, the best match that he had played since 2022. It felt like everything was working. He was hitting a lot of winners, not a whole lot of unforced errors. His serve was so good. And he was coming to net. He was using variety. When his game is on, I think it's kind of ridiculous to call Felix serve bot. That was one of those kind of situations where he was showing his full gauntlet of shots in that match. And he was up 3 match points. 3 consecutive match points, but still not to beat. Rublev, so good usually at holding off players that aren't, top 10. He's been on a rare patch of form where he's not in that kind of way. He lost 8 consecutive sets and 4 consecutive losses. Very weird for Rublev. Rublev is not usually doing that. But after 4 matches lost in a row, now he has a Masters title. His first title in Madrid, which is really incredible. Becomes, I believe, the 5th active player after Zverev, Murray, Nadal, and Djokovic to have multiple clay court titles. He has 2 more clay court titles than both Dominic Thiem and David Ferrer combined. This is good. This is good stuff for Rublev. Feels deserved. He had championship point to get Shanghai against Hubie Hurkacz in October last year. Couldn't do it. He finally has 2 Masters titles in his belt. Multi-Masters champion is Andrei Rublev. Want to go over the match and kind of what happened. I did a podcast talking about the Fritz versus Rublev match. I feel like Fritz and FA in some ways are quite comparable in a lot of ways, but I felt like Felix definitely played a vastly better match. In fact, his forehand was a phenomenal weapon in the first set. His backhand was still breaking down. His backhand defense was still breaking down versus Rublev's aggression, like it was the case for Taylor. But Felix, I feel like, has the aggressive serve plus forehand to trouble Rublev that Fritz just did not have, especially on the day. I mean, Felix in the first set made 77% of first serves in. That is not even close to what Fritz was doing. He was striking under 50 for the first set. He was 55% for the match as a whole for making first serves in. So even though Felix was not doing well on second serve throughout the match, he didn't need to as much because he was making a lot of first serves in. That was a really big deal. He was able to hit a lot of forehands as well, doing really well on early forehands. And like I said, taking the racket out of Rublev's hand. So the first set was really very good. First serve percentage, Felix 77% the first set, which Felix won, like I said, 6-4. 62% first serves in for Rublev in that first set. And yeah, I mean, the stats were really favoring Felix altogether. Felix hit 13 winners to just 5 of Rublev. Like I said, Rublev didn't play bad by any means, and but he just wasn't. 5 winners from Rublev in a set is not his usual. And Felix had 13. 9 winners off the forehand to 3 unforced errors for Felix. So Rublev-like numbers from Felix in that first set. But yeah, and the Rublev return, its constant unrelenting depth and placement off both wings was a big factor versus Alcaraz, as well as the big Fritz serve, but Felix's serve was just too good for that Rublev return to matter at the start, but then Rublev definitely started making more swings on the serve as the match kept going. But the biggest thing in that first set was that Felix was able to hit a lot of +1 forehands against Casper as well. 93% of his +1 shots against Casper Ruud were forehands for Felix. 93%. So let me go over the first set. And going over the match itself, Felix won the first 6 points of the match. Rublev double faulted on the first 2 points of the match. Also, there's a forehand inside-out winner, a backhand down-the-line return to break for Felix in that 1-0 game. Felix went well ahead into the lead. He was serving at 4-1 40 love. But then Rublev broke from that situation, as happened a few times for Felix, where in the most important points and moments of a match, he kind of mentally folds a little bit. Rublev was just started hitting some blistering shots, which is something that he just was not doing throughout the set. Like I said, he hit 5 winners and a lot more unforced errors than that. So it just wasn't that great for Rublev. Rublev saved a break point at 5-3 with an ace. He was fighting very well, though, as we've seen from Rublev. But Felix continued to confidently apply pressure. Some great serve +1, big forehands, big returns, kind of like Rublev, especially in his last couple of matches versus Alcaraz and Fritz. Madrid rewards that. At 5-4, Felix's backhand defense broke down a few times as Andre really targeted that side really well. But Felix, took into his own hands what Fritz couldn't do in the semifinals, served out of trouble. Some huge serves, first serves, very aggressive. Like I said, he was making over 3 out of every 4 first serves in, which is very tough when you have a Felix-like serve. Huge serves, first serves, very aggressive, down 30-40, all big serves, forehand winners, and also forehand volley coming into the net. That's something Felix was also doing a little bit, being able to finish it off at the net. Very aggressive, just took everything into his own hands, neutralized Rublev's own aggression. And everything that I was saying, 13 winners, 12 errors for Felix, 5 winners and 10 errors for Rublev was the stat that I found. Felix hitting 8 more winners than Rublev is bad. And 77% first serves in, winning 67%, 38% on second serve. But at this point, it just didn't matter. Second set, Felix dropped to 60% first serves in. Rublev went up to 75, which even before Rublev got the lead, I was like, I try to notice, stats that can create problems for players, especially if there's a stark difference from one set to another with how stat shows that a certain shot is performing. That's really the point of stats, is for us to, if a number really strikes out to you, it means that they're probably doing that thing either very well or very poorly. So it's all about looking for the stats that really pop out to you, and then those numbers can show you what's really going down between the lines on the court. And Rublev started serving absolutely phenomenal. Rublev really, his serving level and quality really improved as the match went on. 80% first serves won, 71% second serves won. He just really started playing very well as the second set kind of was going underway. And at 6-5, in the 6-5 game, that was when Rublev broke. Felix with 3 forehand errors, another backhand down the line missed. Like I said, just not hitting as many first serves in. On set point, there's another second serve, which really allowed Rublev to get on the front foot, hitting second serve returns, which he absolutely whacks into the court. Felix continued to serve well, but it was just that break where the forehand broke down, the forehand that had been working so well for him. Just that consistency, just sometimes his shots can break down. He's a little bit streaky, Felix, with his quality of shot, which can make him a little bit frustrating to watch. But up until the third set, the serve did not wither down that much outside of not making that many first serves. 9.0 on serve quality scale, 49% of his first serves on return. That stayed until the third set. But not the most high level. I mean, it was a decent final, but it was no Sabalenka Swiatek on the WTA side. I mean, 8 winners, 14 errors for FAA, 8 winners, 12 errors for Rublev. So Rublev did better in that stat, but just better, just slightly better. Third set, there's one very clear storyline of this third set is that Felix gave Rublev way too many chances, way too many break points. It felt like almost every game. And Felix was managing to hold, but he kept giving Rublev chances. And at the end of the set, it really paid dividends. Way too many chances for Rublev. I'll go over kind of what happened in a few of these games to give Rublev those chances. But in the third set, at 0-1, Rublev earned a break point, some massive forehand hitting. Now, he's the one hitting forehands, and he's able to hit it more to the FA backhand. FA not hitting as many forehands now, because Rublev is in charge of the first strike, and Rublev's placement is so good anyway, really targeting that Felix backhand. At out, FA hits a great first serve out wide, a great backhand return, but Felix redirected down the line well. Off that great return from Rublev to neutralize his first serve. Rublev scrambles, slides open stance, and manages to hit hard topspin over it. Sometimes when you're scrambling from one court to another, you back up a little bit and you slice it or whatever you do to kind of defend. You hit a lob or whatever. But Rublev manages to hit a topspin shot over it. Then he does the same thing on his backhand as he scrambles to the other side, hits a backhand open stance sliding shot down the line. The crowd is a little bit in disbelief, one of the points of the match, but Felix stays in control with the backhand. And listen, the third set was really impressive from Felix. Really, really impressive from FA. He stayed in control of the backhand, clutch with the backhand at times in the third set. I thought it was really, really impressive. I'll get to another moment that happened at 2-3 with Felix's backhand that I thought was, for me, the most impressive point of the match for Felix, even though he didn't save a break point, but it was still very, very impressive the way he played out that point, especially with his backhand. But, that was the first break point. Second break point, FA hits an ace down the tee. Solid, just catching the edge of the line. Goes to another deuce after that, but then Felix holds. 2-1 again, 15-40. Felix just not making first serves into play, but then he hits 2 big serves, 2 aces. And then it's a 2-3 game at 15-30, again in trouble on his own serve. Every time it just felt like he was going to serve and he was finding himself in trouble early in games. By hitting errors, his shots were breaking down a little bit more, especially that forehand was not the weapon it was in the first kind of set and a half. In the first set and a half, his forehand was the biggest weapon on the court. It was really, really impressive. Once again, why I don't like calling Felix a serve bot is that when he's on, his forehand and just a lot of other shots in his game, he can be a really impressive athlete. He was moving well, defending fairly well in this match, although it didn't really pay much dividends. But he was showing good signs, especially when he gets on a surface like grass court or indoors that are maybe a little bit more up his alley. Although I like him in most surfaces and conditions okay, but those are probably his best. I think he'll be somebody to look out for. But at 2-3, 15-30, an amazing forehand angle from Felix almost out of nowhere on a +1 forehand, just a winner kind of out of nowhere, pretty central in the court, but finds a great angle, great topspin, great height on the clay. And then at 30-all, this was, for me, the most impressive point of the match and really surprised me a little bit. Completely under pressure, Felix. From 15-30, now 30-all, big moment in the match, trying to avoid another break point for, I think, the third service game in a row. Felix is on the back foot defending. He hits a squash shot forehand that could have been a winner from Rublev, but Felix defending well. Then he hits a backhand off the rise. Rublev getting some great depth. A big backhand cross court from FA in response to this. Then a backhand sliding down the line off a forehand inside out from Rublev. It could have been a winner, but FA somehow manages to get into control with his backhand. Another backhand cross court gets a short backhand, and then he finishes the point down the line with a backhand winner down the line from FA. So, FA hits about three, four backhands in a row, 3 backhands in a row to finish it off, 2 other backhands in that rally. And he somehow, even with Rublev trying to stay aggressive, he somehow redirects the ball so well, manages to stay on the front foot and stay aggressive with the backhand under pressure and hits a winner. So that backhand from Felix under pressure, it looked alien. I didn't feel like I was watching FAA or Felix. I felt like I was watching another guy out there. So some great signs for Felix despite everything and despite having the loss at the end of the day. Then a big backhand cross court. Felix saves again, another break point at 3-4. The backhand really being very clutch in the third set. It's just clutch in general. Then at game point, a big first serve and a forehand cross court sets up a great forehand down the line, both near perfect, near the lines, both down the line and cross court, to get to 4-4. So that forehand again, I mean, the backhand really doing the damage in terms of staying clutch, but that forehand really clutching up in terms of being really, really aggressive, once again, like it was in the first set, to get to 4-4. So it was a pretty compelling third set, but this was the biggest stat of the set. Average service game duration as it got to 4-4, a minute and 54 seconds for Rublev, 5 minutes and 33 seconds for Felix. That's unbelievable. And then Felix at 5-4, he trails 15-30, 3 clutch big first serves to win points. And then the 6-5 game. The 6-5 game. So every single service game from Felix, he's literally facing trouble by Rublev every single game. And then at 6-5, Felix goes down 15-30 on 2 of the last 3 points of the match, including championship point. Felix double faults, just as Rublev did to begin the match. At 30-all, Felix misses the first serve, hits a second serve, which allows Rublev to start off on the aggressive side of things. Felix does some solid defense, but Rublev too good. Felix misses a backhand, and FA just letting Rublev have too many chances, and it's a couple of double faults that really ends off the match. Bit disappointing. Also, Physio was out for FA throughout the third set, kind of loosening up FA's quads and hamstrings, but that being said, I mean, Felix, he played a great tournament, got to the final. He looked healthy enough. He played a good match, but I just think Rublev was too good. He was too experienced, especially in a clay final, but this was Felix's first Masters final, and no hate to Felix. I mean, first of all, he played a really good final, I thought, and I thought that his match against Casper as well in the round of 16 was fantastic. So, a lot of great signs for Felix on a surface which a lot of people would label as his worst, although Madrid does play a little bit quicker, which is a little bit more up his alley. But I think Felix played a great tournament, but Rublev just way too strong, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, is Rublev one of the bigger contenders at Roland Garros? I think he's got a shot at making his first semifinal of a slam at Roland Garros with how many guys are kind of not healthy at the moment, and how he's one of the top guys on a clay court and clearly loves it. I think the closest time Rublev was to making a semifinal of a slam was against Cilic in 2022. So we'll see though, but either way, a great run, kind of very unexpected final in every way, kind of from both. I mean, I know it's Rublev, but he lost 8 consecutive sets, 4 consecutive matches, and then gets to this point. And yeah, altogether, like I said, not Rublev's best match at the start, not a whole lot of winners, and not doing a whole lot on the return of serve either. And, but as the match progressed, Felix started making less first serves in play, and, he just wasn't quite at the level of where he was at the start, especially with the forehand. It wasn't as big of a weapon. Rublev was able to start dictating, and I don't think Rublev played terrible in the first set, but his placement wasn't quite there, and then he kind of became more the Rublev that we know as the match went on, even though he probably could have taken more chances early on in the third, but FA did well to save those early chances. So I think positives for both guys at the end of the day. It is what it is. It was a 7-5 in the third set final. Rublev, too good, too experienced at the end of the day, and he was the one who was able to dictate more, although FA's backhand did impress under pressure in that third set, which was surprising, but at the end of the day, Rublev is the more solid, consistent player even though he does play in a very, very aggressive way, which is why we're impressed by him and why he's where he is at the moment, back to world number 6. Appreciate everybody joining in. I'll be here for some more coverage and a lot more kind of different tennis videos down the road, so please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate everybody watching. I'll see you guys at the next one.